The Kentucky game may have changed Dan and I's perception of what this team might be able to achieve, can achieve. Predictions we made before the season, are we walking some of them back? Upon further review, do we want to change some thoughts about this Georgia team? Next on Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. He is Clint. I am Daniel. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, FanDuel.com. More on them in a moment. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being an everydayer, the loyal everydayers, the guys that are here every single day. Appreciate you. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. It means a lot to us to have all of you on board. It's really fun. You make the podcast fun. We enjoy all the interactions. We enjoy all the comments, all the shout outs. Yeah, it's a great time. Even when it's not a great time, Clint,
it's still a
great time. It's still a great time.
Doesn't change anything about who we are.
Doesn't change anything. Now, speaking of change,
okay.
Some things changed in my heart on Saturday night. Some things changed in my mind on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have been that big a deal, except I was asked shortly before kickoff by a member of my household who's not exactly plugged in to the college football landscape. Is this going to be a tough game for us?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To which I responded, no, it is not. We are very good, and Kentucky is very bad.
Okay, there we go. He's back, buddy.
So I feel like I owe you an apology as a Georgia fan, because this one's clearly on me. Like, I clearly get that that's not an acceptable thing for me to think, feel, or believe at any point. Lest you forget, Georgia fans, never be confident about anything ever. Now that we got that out of the way.
Okay, thank you.
As we reflect back on this Kentucky game, we're not going to talk about the Kentucky game.
No.
Because we can't. Because we'll break things.
Because my brain has shut that memory out. It's a defense mechanism. Do you see how the human brain works?
Do you know what compartmentalization is, Clint? It's you just take a part of your brain and you lock it away. You just say, you live over here now, and I'm not going to be thinking about you anymore. No,
congrats.
We're not going
welcome to the underworld. You're there.
Yeah,
but because of the Kentucky game that happened, Daniel, because we saw things, because we had implications, because of observations, we want to take the new data we have, the data of that game. Yeah. We want to apply it back onto some things we said earlier in the year and still see if they're true or we need to revise them, Daniel.
So what you're saying is basically it's science. We're doing science now.
We're sciencing.
We are. This is science. Yes. All right, where do you want to start?
I want to start with this was not, well, it was before the season, but it was also during the season. And I want to ask you, because maybe we disagree on this.
Okay.
Coming out of fall camp and the first game, we saw the explosion of Frazier onto the scene, Daniel. We saw a running back that we were touting as a possible incarnation of other Georgia running backs, a possible three-headed monster with Etienne, Branson, and Frazier. And we got up in our feels about him. This game, we saw a freshman who couldn't get positive yards. Okay,
couldn't do it.
Wouldn't
do it, Clint. Wouldn't do
it. Refused to do good things for us. Instead, ran backwards, side to side, couldn't get upfield, didn't find the hole, couldn't do any of that. Daniel, I think upon further review, I at first wanted to say this is a blip. Okay, understand. Road SEC game, yada yada yada. But I think I have to say, based upon what other running backs have done at the same level of experience and talent and stage that Frazier's at, he's not the upper crust yet of what I thought he could be and projected him to be for the rest of the year. I think he is a level below the other incarnations that we've talked about, the other Georgia running backs. He's not up there, Daniel. This showed me that we need to take him down a step from what we expect out of him. Is that false? Is that wrong? Can I hope for somebody else to come in and fill that number 3 role? Am I going to expect? Because I'm not right now. Right now, I'm expecting a 2-headed monster. It's not a 3-headed monster. It's a 2.5-headed monster right now in the backfield. Am I wrong for thinking that?
Yes and no. I think we are wrong for. I think we were wrong for trying to make him that in the first place.
A better way of saying it, yeah.
You know who we remind me of when we try to make him that?
Who's that?
C fans, who are trying to make themselves a college football playoff national championship contender.
Which
right
you're not. So stop.
Because Nico, the greatest quarterback in the history of the world, scored 70-something points against middle nobody state.
Nobody.
It was never true or false, Clint.
Okay.
If Roderick Robinson is healthy, Nate Frazier has not played a meaningful snap all season.
True.
See, that's the thing. Is like he's not. He didn't. It's not like he came into camp and was like, "Oh, well, this is the guy that's got it." It's not like he was given the job because of suspensions and injuries, and he looked good in camp and he looked good in games. He's just young. He's just immature, Clint. Like I don't think there are issues. I'm not ready to say he's not it. Certainly, that's not fair to this kid. But it's a great example of why you don't depend on freshmen. You just don't want to do it. You just don't want to be depending on freshmen. Hey, KJ Bolden, are we going to have the same conversation about him now, Clint? Because there's another freshman that Georgia fans are ready to just anoint. Like you see him, he comes on, you're just ready to anoint him. And he didn't look very good on Saturday. He just didn't look very good. Dan Jackson's just better than him.
Right now he is.
And so, so you just don't want to be depending on freshmen. And thankfully, Georgia didn't have to depend on freshmen very much in this game. We tried to get him in there, spell ETN. Branson's clearly not it. Clearly not 100%. While Rod is still out. But when Roderick Robinson comes back, if he's a full go, if he's 100%, I think he slides right back in there.
Now we're 3-headed again.
I think he slides right back in there. If we're a 3-headed monster, Nate Frazier needs to be the 3rd head. Like he cannot be one of
2.
He cannot be 1 or 2. That's the thing that I think is unfair to him. And so
I agree. That's
reasonable,
measured response, Daniel.
I've never been anything on this pod other than reasonable and measured. Let the record indicate that I speak truthfully. We've got more to discuss, some thoughts that maybe have changed, some predictions that maybe we want to amend, all of that and more right after this.
But first, I want to let you know about ROY. What does ROY stand for? It actually stands for Return on You. It's a new platform that lets you, the fan, gets involved in NIL like never before, making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. By supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, and keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal. As you all know, NIL has changed the game athletes forever. ROY changes the NIL game for fans. Here's what ROY does, and here's why Daniel and I, as we talk about them, huge supporters of this. It gets exclusive content access. When fans contribute to a successful campaign, they receive access to exclusive content from the athletes, such as their announcement decision, behind-the-scenes footage, and other personal reflections, all of which are available only to the fans who support the athletes. And these are no-risk contributions. Fans' contributions are securely held and are only distributed if the athlete makes the decision that aligns with the fan's support. If not, the money is returned to the fan. Download ROY for iOS and Android, enter referral code LOCKED ON, and you'll automatically be entered to win a sweepstakes of $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary, void while prohibited. Get the ROY app for iOS and Android and start making an impact on your favorite team. Use referral code LOCKED ON for your opportunity to win $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for more details. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy.
We're talking about upon further review.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some time. We've processed some things. We've thought some things through. And are we ready to amend some preseason thoughts that we had? Maybe go in a bit of a different direction.
Sure.
That sort of a thing. I want to go back to kind of a big picture preseason thought that I had. And that is the assumption, the thought that the Georgia Bulldogs were going to lose multiple regular season games this year. Go back and listen to the prediction that I made. We went game by game. I gave you all my thoughts. I predicted that Georgia was going to go 10-2 this year. I think there are multiple losses in there. I thought that coming into the preseason.
Okay, that's what. And the record for the people, Alabama, Texas, were the two games you saw us taking L's.
No,
on.
Alabama and Tennessee.
Sorry,
the two
Tennessee,
games.
sorry.
I had us winning it against Texas, winning against Ole Miss, losing at home to Tennessee.
I had us also losing at home to Tennessee, but winning the rest of the games. Daniel, it sounds like you're ready to amend this.
No, I feel fine about it. I feel like here's the point that I think I'm trying to make, because I think this is fairly important to remember, because, and this is going to be, it's going to be hard to process if you're a Georgia fan. Other fan bases like Alabama fans, for example, listening to this won't have any trouble processing this.
No, they
but
won't.
We're very used to not ever losing any games in the season. Like, we just don't do that. You know what I'm trying to say?
I do.
We don't let Texas walk into our stadium and beat the ass out of us like at home. We just don't do that. That's not a thing that we do in the season. You know what I'm saying? So
I do.
It's very difficult for Georgia fans to process. Loss feels like failure. I thought this team was going to lose games. Looking at them on Saturday, I still think this team's going to lose games. I think this team's going to lose to Alabama in 2 weeks. Now, I reserve the right to change my opinion between now and then. But right now, I don't think there's any chance you can convince me this team's not going to lose to Alabama in 2 weeks. Does that mean that this isn't a championship level team? I think this team's going to make the college football playoff easily. And I think this team's going to advance in the college football playoff and have a chance to win the national championship. I don't think we learned anything on Saturday. Back to the kind of the big picture stuff from yesterday. I don't think we learned anything on Saturday that does anything to change my mind about whether or not this team is a college football playoff team and has a chance to compete and win the whole thing, Clint.
No, it doesn't change my opinion of that at all. Daniel, I'm with you. I think the thing that is unique to me as I'm thinking about the prediction for the record as well as the playoffs, I think what crystallized to me, Daniel, and it's not, I think the lazy Georgia fan narrative is that we lose to mobile quarterbacks. That's okay. That's kind of what people say. If you have a mobile quarterback, we're going to lose to you. So you look at a guy, Jackson Dart is in fact mobile. He fits that mold. Sure. And you'll say, well, we're gonna struggle against him. Brock Vandegrift, look, we struggled against him. Peyton Thorne,
I mean, you saw Arch Manning. He ran 20 miles an hour. Arch Manning, I don't know if you saw that, Clint. He ran 20 miles. So, we're going to lose to him probably.
This crystallized for me, and I'm doubling down. Now, the Alabama game next, y'all, I think the timing of this and how good Milroe looks in running power off tackle and lobbing up go routes, he's so good at those two things, gives me more pause. I still think we have a very good chance of winning in Tuscaloosa. But it crystallized for me the thing that is unique that I don't know if I had before the season. Nobody asked me this, but if you were to ask me the teams that I'm most afraid of, which is why every single year I now understand I was right. I didn't know why I was right. I now understand why I was right about Kentucky every single year that I couldn't stand them.
The one year you didn't, you backed off like a coward, Clint.
Like a coward. I am just a small child scared of heights. That's what I was. I should have stuck with it. The reason why Alabama beat us in the SEC championship, the reason why Kentucky plays us close, the reason why Alabama before is the type of teams that give us trouble are not mobile. The type of teams that give us trouble are stout, punch you in the mouth in the trenches team. Now, this is unique to me because that's not Texas. Texas is not that team, y'all. Like, I know Texas fan, you want it to be, but you're not. You're not a rock'em sock'em, let's get dirty, let's get down and wrestle and brawl. Alabama, the SEC championship was, Kentucky always is. All of these teams have that mentality. Texas wants to come out and fly it all over the yard and get some RPOs and yada. And their defense kind of wants to do some blitz packages and fancy it up. Georgia doesn't struggle against those teams. I'm not saying it's guaranteed win against Texas, but we don't struggle against those teams on a regular. The teams that play us well are the teams that shorten the game down, that actually say we're going to do two things. We're going to run the ball 45 times to 60 times in a game. Point one. And point two, we are going to take away a certain aspect of your offense and get you behind the chains and get you off rhythm. And that's all we care about. If we do those two things, we're going to be fine. And we can do so because we're going to punch you in the mouth. That's why I still think Tennessee. That's why, oddly enough, Tennessee still scares me because that actually defines Tennessee. I've defined a Tennessee team coming into Athens. They're not throw it all. They have a great quarterback. They're not going to be pitching all over the yard. They want to run really well and play defense that socks us up. So I think what crystallized in my mind is Stoops is the antithesis to Kirby. I think he's right. He's not a good coach. Stoops is not a good coach. He's just so happens to be a good coach against Kirby, which is wild to me that more teams don't steal the philosophy. That's I think what's confusing to me, Daniel.
We'll come back in the third segment and I will tell you why more teams don't steal that philosophy right after these.
Before Daniel turns into a head football coach himself, which, by the way, we could do very easily, according to a lot of what I see on the television. I'm
looking for that buyout, guys. Please, someone offer me a large amount of money to not host this podcast anymore. I'm looking for that life.
You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. But we have something a little different for you right now. Through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. That's $5 to go bet on the game that you could have bet on the Civil War, and you could have bet Oregon to cover, which I did not. I lost that, but you could have bet South Carolina to go ahead and do some work, and they did some work over there. That was fantastic against LSU. Visit FanDuel.com, download America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com. Get off the sidelines, get into the action.
It's pretty straightforward, Clint. How many times Mark Stoops beaten Kirby Smart?
0.
When you play to keep the game close, you forfeit your opportunity to win the game.
I think this is what's unique to me, though, about this.
He can't beat him. He can't beat him if he had gone for it instead of kicking a field goal. If he had thrown the ball down the field, tried to force the dang ball down the field, tried to do something to create a big explosive play, but he didn't. He just kept driving it into our territory and then letting the Georgia defense bow up and take it away. More coaches don't do it because they actually want to win the game, which I respect. Mark Stoops looked like a guy trying to keep that game close. I know that he had a chance to win it at the end, and a lot of that has to do with the way Georgia played. But he did not coach as if he believed that he needed to do something out of character in order to win that game. And clearly he needed to do something out of character in order to win that game. That's why he's 0-1,000,000 against the Georgia Bulldogs in his coaching career. All right. Do you have any more thoughts, any more reflections, things that you have reconsidered upon further review of what we learned on Saturday, Clint?
Arian Smith is the best wide receiver we have.
Doubling down on this take.
I'm doubling down on this take, 100%. And the reason I'm doubling down on this take, before the season, I would have said Dylan Bell. Maybe I would have added Colby Young, possibly. I certainly would have added Dom Lovett. But I'm doubling down because of what Kirby and Bobo think of Arian Smith. And how do I know? Because they're calling shots for him specifically. In the passing game, Carson Beck's going to spread it around. He's not forcing anything into any window. But when you're calling screens specifically for Arian, when you're calling those types of plays in crucial moments of the game, what you're telling me as a coaching staff is this is our dude. We need a dude to go get it, and he going to get it. We think he can. So I'm following my eyeballs that say he's tough as nails. He's catching contested balls. He's going over the middle. He is in every single route tree option at every different position. Second thing, Daniel, I'm not only testing my eyeballs, I'm trusting the play call of Mike Bobo and Kirby Smart. And Kirby Smart's post-game and pre-game and during the week interviews in which he talks about Arian Smith so much. He's our best wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, Kirby loves him. Clearly. I think Dom Lovett's our best wide receiver. So I don't hate your take on Arian Smith. I think Dom Lovett's our best wide receiver. I have something I'm ready to say about the receiving core, about that aspect of the game.
Let me brace myself.
Georgia's not getting anything out of their tight ends this year, period.
Nope.
If you were waiting for Georgia to start getting something out of their tight ends, that ain't going to happen. So I'm not saying that there won't be a game where Oscar Delp or Lawson Lucky might have 3 or 4 catches for 70 yards. I'm not saying that won't be a thing.
Sure.
The Georgia tight ends are not a legitimate weapon. They're not a legitimate threat in the passing game.
We're pretty pedestrian right now in that group.
We're not pretty pedestrian. We're really pedestrian. And everybody looks pedestrian compared to Brock Bowers. I'm not going compared to Brock Bowers.
No.
I'm going with just some form of decent. That's what I'm looking for in the tight end room. And I'm not getting it.
It's not there.
I mean, Urosic, we get. The opinion on him is hardened in stone. It's not going anywhere.
And I don't want to change it.
You're not going to be changing it anytime soon. So that ship has sailed. But Oscar Delp, people are talking about him not being involved. He's not a threat in the passing game.
He's not involved because he can't get open.
He's not a threat in the passing game. He doesn't look fluid in his movements. He just doesn't look like a guy who is going to pose a legitimate threat. And you say whatever you want about, Georgia's offense this year compared to previous years. There hasn't been a time when Georgia didn't have a threat. There hasn't been a championship caliber team under Kirby Smart that didn't have a legitimate threat in the tight end position in the passing game. And so I think that's significant if you're a Georgia fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, we want to have a pro style offense that does pitch it around and pro style offenses has a tight end receiving threat, not just a blocking, but a vertical threat in that game. And you see it in the teams that are able to do really well, have that option. And we don't right now. It's quite bad. My last thing that has been solidified of this game, Daniel, and you know what? I'm going to save this. We can't, because Daniel and I are going to have this. I don't know if we can have this fight again right now. I don't know if we can have this fight right now.
You don't think the relationship's not going to survive it?
I think this defense is still elite.
Okay. Yeah. They ain't giving him a touchdown all year. It's fine. Like, I dare somebody to tell me that the defensive front isn't soft.
No, I can't say that right now. I can't defend that right now to save my life.
If you think an elite defense can have a soft defensive front, then I will allow you to maintain that position. But if you think there's some form of integrity that you're lacking when you say an elite defense that you agree has a soft defensive front, then I'll just let you make that own conclusion about yourself.
I wish you could, Daniel. I really wish you can come out of your shell more often and tell me what you really feel about something.
I'm just not like, I just see what I see. And what I see is that freaking sumo wrestler running back, Sumo Karnyarnbe, who just ran straight through us. I can't unsee it. And you know what else I'm about to see? I'm about to see freaking Justice Haynes.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
One right.
Okay.
Georgia fans,
everybody, come on. Georgia
God.
fans, look, we're not going to play good cop, bad cop, because I guarantee you, right now, I'm fine because it's not game week. Check back during game week because you just might have two sour Sallys, right, sitting in front of your screen. So, but I know you're here for it, fans. You in the comments, talk us out of it.
Please, I dare you to tell me that I'm wrong about something that I'm saying right now. I would love that.
This has been Locked On Bulldogs. By the way, that sums up podcasting. This is Locked On Bulldogs, Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. We'll see y'all next time. See you guys then.
See you.